The story of this postseason has been that the contender that stays the healthiest has the biggest chance of winning the championship. And that means players are sitting out and the stars of teams are injured. The Suns and the Bucks had to face some injuries themselves, but they had to go through other teams that had it worse. You can make the case that if the Lakers were fully healthy, the Suns would have lost in the first round. You can make the case that if the Nets were fully healthy, the Bucks would have lost in the second round. You can make the case that if the Clippers were fully healthy, the Suns would have lost in the conference finals if they didn't already lose to the Lakers. We know injuries are a part of the game, but does this season push it too far? We know not all championships are equal, but is this year's playoffs so injury-riddled that it has an asterisk on it? I'm just going to start off by answering the question. Does the 2021 NBA Championship have an asterisk? And I would say no. No, it doesn't. A ring is a ring, but some just have more value than others. Dirk's championship in 2011 is more valuable than Kevin Garnett's in 2008. LeBron's 2016 championship is more valuable than Kevin Durant's in 2018. A championship means no team could take you down, and you beat every team in the league, whether you beat them or the opponents you overcame beat them. Context plays a huge role in this because the championship itself doesn't show how hard or easy it was to win the ring. It doesn't show you who you had on your team, and it doesn't show who you were facing. So in some cases, you can make the argument that one ring is more valuable than two rings. Are they both championships? Yeah. Did they have to beat every single team in the league to get there? Also yes, but they didn't have the same circumstances, which makes them more or less valuable. A huge determining factor is injuries, especially this year. I can make a whole roster of injured stars in the league. Kyrie was injured, so was James Harden. LeBron James just came back from injury before the playoffs and didn't play like himself. Anthony Davis couldn't stay healthy. Joel Embiid had a meniscus tear in Game 3 against the Hawks. Kawhi had a mysterious ACL injury and couldn't play for the last two games against the Jazz and the whole Clippers vs Suns series. Donovan Mitchell sat out for the first game against the Grizzlies. Jaylen Brown missed the whole playoffs. Chris Paul had a shoulder injury in Game 1 against the Lakers, and he had to play limited minutes for the rest of the series, and he missed the first two games in the conference finals. Trae Young got injured by stepping on a ref's foot and had to miss 2 games and was rushed back to play the elimination game. In that same series, Giannis suffered a hyperextended knee and had to miss the last 2 games of the conference finals, and although he was cleared to play Game 1 of the finals, you could tell that he wasn't 100%. Look at that. That's a lot of players, and when that many star players are injured, that makes their teams weaker and the healthiest team would have the advantage. But injuries are a part of the game, and it isn't fully determined by luck. Like, Trae Young stepping on a ref's foot is definitely unlucky, and there's nothing he could have done. When was the last time something like that happened? I don't know either, but players can take care of themselves to minimize injuries. There's a reason why LeBron spends over $1 million a year just on his body. His prime has lasted so long in the league and hasn't been interrupted by too many injuries. The best ability is availability, and the Suns and Bucks have shown that for the most part. Luck plays a role, but staying healthy isn't easy, especially in this season, so kudos to them for staying healthy. Did the teams they went up against miss key pieces? Yes, but they managed not to do the same thing. Injuries are a part of basketball. To me, it's by far the worst thing about the game, but it happens. Last year in the finals, Bam Adebayo was injured, and he was the main defender to slow down Anthony Davis, and he was the second best player on the team. He had to miss the rest of Game 1 and the next 2 games. In 2019, Kevin Durant tried to come back, but he re-injured himself after playing less than a quarter. The Warriors had a chance to come back, but in Game 6, Klay Thompson tore his ACL and missed the rest of the series and missed the last 2 seasons as well. In 2016, Draymond Green missed Game 5, and if they won that game, they would have won the series. In 2015, Kevin Love didn't play for the whole finals, and Kyrie only played for 1 game. That was a ton of major injuries in the finals from the last 6 years. I didn't even mention playoff injuries. that was just in the finals. For the most part, not a lot of people hold these teams to asterisks, and I wouldn't either. Injuries are a terrible thing, and they happen often. Looking at something now seems different than when you look back on it in the future. In 1999, the San Antonio Spurs won the championship over the Knicks, and Tim Duncan won the Finals MVP. Now, would you put an asterisk on that season? I bet the vast majority of fans would say no. The first 3 months of the season was cancelled, and the regular season was really short. Last year, most of the 22 teams that went to the bubble played 72 or 73 games. This year, there were 72 regular season games, and in 1999, there were only 50 regular season games. The New York Knicks barely made the playoffs as the 8th seed, and they ended up beating the number 1 seeded Miami Heat. They had some role players like Allen Houston come back from injury right before the playoffs. 2 of the Miami Heat starters were injured for more than half the season. Voshon Leonard just came back from the injury before the playoffs, and Jamal Mashburn did too, and he didn't play the way he usually did. The Knicks were the second team in history to beat the 1st seed as the 8th seed, and they ended up going to the conference finals. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Patrick Ewing tore his Achilles and didn't play after the first 2 games. In Game 3, Larry Johnson made a tough 3 as the game winner, and it was a 4-point play, and that gave the Knicks a 2-1 series lead. But in Game 6, he had a knee injury and had to play limited minutes the rest of the series. The Knicks ended up winning the series and went to the finals. Going into the finals, there was a heavily injured Knicks team against a pretty healthy Spurs team led by the Twin Towers, Tim Duncan and David Robinson. David Robinson suffered an injury a year prior and didn't return the same, but that doesn't mean he fell off a cliff, because he was still a really good and really dominant player. And the Spurs won the finals in 5 games, and Tim Duncan won the finals MVP. Tim Duncan was amazing, averaging a double-double with 27 points and 14 rebounds on 54% shooting from the field. And remember, in this series, Patrick Ewing didn't play at all, and Larry Johnson had to play limited minutes. The last finals game was played on June 25th, and before last season, it was the latest date for an NBA Finals game to be played. This series only went to 5 games, and if it went to 7 games, the last game would have been June 30th. And don't you see similarities to this season? The healthiest team was the most successful, and they had to face injured teams to win it all. The Knicks missed their star player, and their 3rd or 4th option had to play limited minutes in the first game. The story of that season was that the healthiest team won the championship. But how come we don't put an asterisk on the 1999 NBA championship? I think we should apply the exact same thing to this season. I haven't heard anyone discredit Tim Duncan by saying he has 4 rings or one of his championship has an asterisk on it. I've only heard that Tim Duncan has 5 rings, and if anything, he's underrated as a player. Staying healthy isn't easy, and luck isn't the only factor involved. Injuries happen every year, and it's going to happen again. It's just that so many of them happen this year, and it's sad to see. So whether the Suns or the Bucks win the championship, there shouldn't be an asterisk put on it. I won't get mad if you say that it isn't as meaningful as some other championships, but you can't discredit it as a whole. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I read every single comment, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe for future basketball content, and thank you for watching.